you're going to get it.
Okay.
Okay. So those of you, we are going live. I'm Gail Zintek. This is my great friend, Brookes Welc. She's also my husband and my financial advisor. And she has been since 2014. And we're going to talk today about getting started. I don't know about you, but in my mid 50s, Steve was in his later 50s, and we had not had a financial plan. And we'd known Brookes for probably 10 years. And maybe about 5 years prior to you becoming a financial advisor. And Brookes is going to tell a little bit of her story, her background, and where she is today, and how you can connect with her. But Steve and I we had not ever made a financial plan. We raised our family. We had 3 children I had 3 kids by the age of 21. And I don't know, but we worked paycheck to paycheck all the years of raising. Those 21 years of raising children was a paycheck to paycheck kind of deal. And it wasn't until actually after our youngest son graduated in 2000, went off to college, that I started a new career shortly after that in real estate, where money, and I don't know, maybe the kids were grown and they were gone, and we had a little bit more flexibility in our income. And we chose to sit down with Brookes and make a plan. And we didn't start out socking away a ton of money, but we started out with a little bit. And I think you're going to learn today from the professional that Brookes is, and like how you can get started, how you can overcome the fear of getting started. Because I don't know, maybe you don't know the questions to ask. We didn't really know the questions to ask, but we had a relationship with Brookes, and we had a trust and a faith in her and her firm to go ahead and get started. So Brookes, give us a little bit of your background and how you ended up today in 2021 being a top ranked financial planner in my world.
Thank you, Gail. Yes. Gosh, so I've been here for 7.5 years in my role as a certified financial planner at a really small firm, Bright Financial Advisors. It's me and one other financial planner. And prior to that, I had been a personal banker, and eventually worked my way up in the big corporate banking world, becoming eventually a manager there. So after so many years in the corporate world and servicing a lot of small business and personal banking clients, I was looking to kind of get out of the corporate world, kind of work just primarily with my own individual client relationships and less on the managerial side. So this provided a great opportunity for me, knowing some of the people that here at Bright Financial Advisors already making that connection, to really be able to pull in all of my strengths. I have a tax background, a financial banking background. I had some investment background at the bank. And so really pulling that all together and allowing me to do what I love most, and that's helping people, and that's working with people directly. And yeah, it's such a rewarding career. Kind of like where the medical field has been, helping people long before this pandemic hit, helping people and the reward of seeing people get healthy. But this is also being able to reward, see people get financially healthy, as you guys have been focusing on. And so, yeah, that's how I am here where I am at today. And yeah, I guess it's what I tell everyone. It's not about what you shoulda, woulda, could have done in the past, or not getting started sooner. It's about what can you do today and getting started today. And then making it a realistic plan, baby steps. What can we realistically do today, and to kind of build that going forward. So that's the mantra.
And the baby steps. I remember Steve and I started out with, I think it was $250 a piece that we were putting away each month into our own little accounts. But think about that, $250 a month over the course of a year adds up. Mm-hmm. It adds up a lot more than when you're not doing anything. And then you see the money in your account and you spend all the money that you have and you buy things that you really don't need, but you want because the money's there. And, learning to pay yourself first.
Absolutely.
And then I remember we'd bump it up a little bit more, and then we bumped it up a little bit more. And, I'll just tell you, $1,000 a month, we pay ourselves first. Actually, we pay Bright Financial Advisors to invest that money for us each year.
Sure.
So think about that. $12,000 a year goes into our future savings. And Brookes, you're a talk about the difference between financial planning companies, because there's fee-based companies and then there's percentage-based companies, and you're all I've ever known. So maybe kind of enlighten people of what the difference is in.
Yeah. We feel very strongly right out the gate that we as financial advisors really need to be doing what's best for the clients. So we follow what's called a fiduciary standard. And so in order to make sure that we are offering or looking for our clients' best interests ahead of our own, we have chosen to waive all commissions and not take commission income, which can entice advisors to recommend one investment product over another, because perhaps the advisor might get a higher payout if they recommend a different investment solution that's suitable, but may not be the best for the client. And so we've decided to forego that fee structure, not take any commissions, and instead, we as the investment advisory firm, we get paid a percentage of the assets that we manage. And so as we encourage our clients to save and we invest it and help that grow over time, then our percentage also goes up too. So it kind of puts us on that same side of the table. So there's the assets under management fee structure, and then there's the commission structure, which is very typical. A lot of what I saw at the bank and a lot of those brokerage firms typically are still in that brokerage or that commission structure. And then at the end of the day, it leaves clients just kind of second guessing, is this recommendation really helping the advisor or is it helping me? And so that's why we think it's super important to make recommendations and be really clear in our recommendations that it is truly for our client's best interest.
And we talk about growth percentages, and I'm just like, I'm going to be totally honest with you all right here. Like, I'm thinking of questions to ask Brookes in my little novice brain of financial investing and planning. So if you can think of anything you want to ask Brookes, then by all means, we're going to make sure you have the opportunity to do so. But I know percentages of increase are important to people, and Bright Financial Advisors has a standing success rate of that percentage. Can you share a little bit about over time, overall, the percentages of increase that people can expect when they invest their hard-earned money with you?
Absolutely. So yeah, the approach we take with our clients is it's all about comfort level with the client. So when I help clients decide, okay, how risky should we be in the portfolio, which generally speaking, the riskier you are, the higher the reward could be. But there is certainly a point where you can take on too much risk and not get rewarded for it. So we always want to talk our clients down to where that sweet spot is, with what they're comfortable with, so that they sleep at night with some of the ups and downs that can happen. And what is your timeline? When do you need to start taking out money? If you're in a retirement stage already and you do need to live on some of that money, then we need to be more conservative. If we've got a couple years down the road before we need to start accessing any of that money, then we can be a little bit more aggressive. But we also don't want to be too aggressive. So we want to find that sweet spot. So that's what helps us determine what that realistic growth rate could be, is really how risky should we be. So, I guess on average, my conservative retirees that are living on their money, 6 to 7% is pretty typical average growth rate. For my savers and my workers and higher earners that are, socking away and have plenty of time before they need to start living on that money, 8 to 9% average growth rate is what we think is reasonable. And that's through an average time period. That's through all of the usually really good years that we've been having, and maybe some not so good years that do happen. So when we talk about average growth rates, it's really through like a 10-year timeline. Because usually you'll see an expansion in the economy that helps fuel the stock market. And you'll see maybe one recession in that 10-year timeline that kind of helps level things out or average that out. So that's where we kind of come up with those average targets. And then we're always measuring against the benchmark. We want to beat the benchmark. We want to be providing value for our clients. And yeah, trying to do, I mean, if you could just set it, forget it, and do it on your own, that's one thing, but we want to be able to do even better than what you could do on your own. And part of that is through taking advantage of growth opportunities to help it grow along our targets. But a big part of it too is downside protection and protecting our clients' money when things are pretty volatile, like March of 2020. That was a very volatile period when news of this pandemic was spreading. And so really safeguarding our clients' assets through those ups and downs is critical. So if you don't fall as much on the bad days, then the assets don't have to climb as high to get back to where they were to break even. So it's a twofold approach, the growth and the downside protection. So
no matter what it is, it's better than putting your money in a savings account in the bank and just letting
earning nothing right now.
And it's so fun because over the years of working with Brookes, she knows my comfort level. And I'd say, well, I like to see that amount of money sitting in the bank because it gives me a comfort level. Mm-hmm. And my husband, on the other hand, is like, we probably should take some of that money and think about it, Gail, 7, 8, 9% increase. Your money's not working for you in the bank. So there's that balance there. And we meet on a quarterly basis or a semi-annual basis. We go in and we sit down or we get on a Zoom call. Pandemic did not stop us from having our face-to-face interactions with Brookes. Brookes, here's what she's done for us. She helps us with our tax returns. We have quite a broad, expansive tax return with several different LLCs and businesses. And she can communicate the right vocabulary with our accountant, Ed, and just really be on top of that. She also, and this is what the firm does. If you have a need for a new vehicle, Brookes has connections, not just locally, but all over the place that can help you with finding that right vehicle. Gosh, I've had the LLC questions come up and it's like, oh, Brookes, help me get my paperwork in order. And that's the going above and beyond that she's been able to do for us over time. And we just feel really comfortable, Brookes, having you, knowing that you care about us, you care about our finances, and that you're always looking out for our best interests. So as we look at that and we look at the fear of people, what is the average age of the person? How do they find you? Why are they coming to you? Mm-hmm. And what are their biggest questions coming in to meet with a financial advisor for the first time?
Well, the number one question is, am I okay to retire? Do I have enough set for retirement? And maybe the answer, they already know walking in that maybe they don't have enough. But then the second question is, what do I need to do to get there? What can I do? So that's a big part of what we do, is at least getting a foundation in place, seeing kind of where the current financial position is of our clients, and mapping out a plan. How are we going to help you meet those goals? And it's really about utilizing the cash flow that our clients have. I mean, there's a wide expanse on, how much people make every year and what is available to save. But it's really just maximizing that. If we can find ways to save in taxes so that you have more for you and your family in your future. And yeah, putting a little bit aside, like we talked about, the baby steps. What can we allocate towards the now goals, the short-term goals, and the long-term goals, so that we are meeting all of those objectives. So it's really just kind of getting that roadmap in place so that it really does kind of lift that burden off our clients' shoulders, knowing, okay, we've got someone looking over for, in our best interest. They're looking out for us. And really any financial question that comes up, like Gail mentioned, hey, I've got an LLC question, or I've got a, a financing question. Should I lease or loan a vehicle? We're talking through all of that because it has a financial impact for our clients. And if there's any way for us to save a couple $100 for our client, it's worth it. It's worth kind of talking it through and reviewing what's best for the client in that situation, and what, make those recommendations on how they should move forward with that. So those are a very common, basic questions really geared towards retirement, but we get questions all over the board. Like I said, really anything financial or related. It's beneficial for us to review and look at and talk through and see how we can impact that. And I will say that, the fear of getting started, it's just, all you can do is start today. And the sooner you start, the easier it gets. And, if many of you are in real estate, I'm sure it was like, your first transaction, your first dealing, your first networking event where you're trying to get started in the industry. And it may be a little intimidating at first, but then that network grows. Then your client base grows. And now the people you've sold a house to are going to refer their friends and family, and maybe call you again when there's the next transaction. Well, that's very much like saving and investing. You get those nest eggs in there soon, and then the compounding growth, as you put in $250 and it grows to $300. Well, now that extra $50 is now investing and growing, and that compounds over time. And so the sooner you start, the more time you have to benefit from that compounding growth. So ultimately down the road, your portfolio is doing more of the work and you're not having to do as much, kind of like your network base. When you're a realtor and connecting with a lot of people, you don't have to pound the pavement as much. You've got people calling you to say, hey, I have a house I need to sell. We want to apply that same concept to saving and investing and letting that compounding growth do the most of the work for you down the road. It's just always interesting when I can meet with a client and they're just in awe that, wow, this is the growth that I've had so much this year. I haven't even made that much. That wasn't even my wages in my highest earning income years. And so it's just, it's pretty neat to see how impactful that can be, that growth component, when you just kind of let it do its job in the market and grow over time.
So let's talk about age. So
Yes.
there's people earning, and I know Andrew started, like is he still like the youngest CFP that was ever? He's just been pretty phenomenal. So we've known Andrew for about 17 years now.
Right.
And so let's talk about age of investing. So what's the average age of the person that comes to you, hopefully before they're in their 50s? And is there an age that's too young, or an amount that you have to invest that will really find the true benefit of your services?
Got it. Okay. So age-wise, I have really, really young clients. I have, minors that already have a small little paycheck that are setting aside money and saving and investing and growing. As a young age, I was 13 and babysitting, and my parents set up a mutual fund. So I started investing my babysitting money to help pay for college. So there really isn't a minimum age. I would say it's usually when, people have their first full-time job that it really does start to make sense. And ideally, right away, if you're starting to save 10% of your gross income into a long-term retirement plan or a longer-term investment vehicle, that's a good rule of thumb. I'd say my average client age is probably 50 to 60s. We have clients of all ages, but I'd say the bulk are in the 50 to 60 range. And yeah, it does become, maybe as far as math goes, that we have to put in a higher percentage if we, start later in life. But that's what we try to help either work towards or determine what is feasible. If we have to create that ugly B word, the budget plan, we will help with that. So just to make it a realistic plan so that you can put the right amount aside for the now short-term and the long-term goals. So yeah, so I mean, age is all over the place. There's a lot of rule of thumbs on how much you should be putting in, but we also want to cater that to what's possible and what's realistic for our clients. I'm not sure if I answered all of your questions. If there's another one in there that I'm missing.
There was one about, the amount of money, like,
Oh, to get started. So, setting up a retirement account, or an investment account anywhere, I'd say probably the minimums to get into some of those funds would probably be 500 to 1,000, depending on the institution. We have some that we have a minimum of 10,000 to get into that. So we try to wait until we pool up money in other investments before we get into those other higher minimums. As a firm, we have now started fee minimum. So we charge 1% of assets under management. And what we are now charging a 5,000 minimum fee per year. And that equates to 1% on 500,000. So you don't necessarily have to have 500,000, but as a fiduciary, we want to make sure that the percentage that you're paying us is in your best interest. If a client is starting off with $10,000 and they're paying us 5,000 for our minimum fee a year, that's not prudent. That is, not a good use of your money. And it might be best to start at a bank or something that has lower minimums and then work towards getting there. And we're more than happy to talk through how to get the foundation, how to get started. And yeah, sometimes I'll meet with a client and then 2 years later, they are a client of mine, because we've kind of helped them get started and to where it makes sense down the road to be a client.
Awesome. So as we wrap up today, I want to get personal a little bit and tell me a little bit about, who you are, your family. I've watched you grow your family over the years. And so just tell us a little bit about Brookes and what are your hobbies? What do you do with your family? And what makes life happy for you?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'd love to share. Gosh, I have 2 kids that are just, I'm sure every mom will say, just crazy how old they are now, but I have a high schooler, 9th grader, and a 6th grader, middle school. So a boy and a girl. And yeah, they keep me very busy between all of the sports and activities. And yeah, that's such a rewarding thing, is to be able to cheer on your children in a sport or activity that you're passionate about, and you can see them kind of following in your footsteps and taking it on as a passion of their own. That's always fun too. So I'm very passionate about running. Very proud of Gail for starting her running career. Baby steps.
I love it. Half a mile every day.
Great. That's great. Baby steps, right? Yeah. So I love running. I've been running since I was in middle school. And so now it's fun that I get to see my daughter and my son running in track and cross country and cheering them on the way that my dad always coached me and cheered me on. So that's fun. And as a family, we love to camp. We're really big into camping and going around to all the state parks and all of the national parks. So we've been trying to hit a lot of the national parks when we have vacations, and hiking and biking and a lot of those outdoorsy type stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of me and my family.
What kind of a camper do you have?
We have a pull behind trailer that's not really roughing it. But it's also not the big giant fancy RV. It's a decent camper that yeah, we're more glamping, I guess, if you say. But yeah, so we go all over, and we spent 2020 at a seasonal campsite every single weekend, heading down to the camp where we parked our camper for the entire summer and went down there and got to spend some, summer weekends with family and friends. And it was a great time. The kids love it. Fishing and sports activities and jumping in the river or lakes and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, any last words you'd like to share before we sign off today?
Gosh, I would say, it's so critical that you just take care of your health financially and, health physically and emotionally, relationally. I mean, all of that needs attention. And with all of that, no better time to start than now. But I do truly feel that there is a healthy balance between living for today and living for tomorrow. And so, we don't want to just sock in all of our energy and our finances and our attention on, what do I need today? We also want to kind of plan for what are we going to need for the future, so that we've got a set future. But yeah, there's a healthy balance to doing both. So get started.
You do work with people in other states, not just.
Oh, absolutely. We have clients almost in every state at this point now.
And how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so feel free to give us a call at the office. We have a wonderful staff that helps either schedule things or answer initial questions. And yeah, our office phone number is 269-373-2700, or email. So I'm living by my email at bwelk@brightfinancialadvisors.com.
Awesome. Well, Brookes, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to enlighten us on the ways of financial planning and investing. And thanks for being my financial advisor. You're best. I appreciate you so much. So
thanks, Gail.
We'll talk again another time.
All right. Thank you.